Hey Emily, I wanted to leave you some feedback on your rough draft for Essay 4. Overall, I think that this is working pretty well. I can see a stance on the essay. I think you understand what Baraxma is saying, which is good. Your body paragraphs as a whole are pretty well organized. I can see clear claims, clear key points. I see you bringing in evidence, and then I see you discussing the evidence. I also really like the movement between your paragraphs. So, particularly the movement between your first body paragraph and your second body paragraph. This is just a really nice idea transition that really helps the reader understand why you put these points in the order that you put them in. So that was a really nice movement as your reader. So there are a couple things that I want to talk to you about for revision. So let's scroll back up here. Your summary is working pretty well. I really like how you are bringing in enough detail to understand, or sorry, to help the reader understand the pivot in between, um, these two like polar opposite sides of Baraxma's life. So you've done a really good job here. We talked about your thesis on the phone earlier, and I think that you're almost there, right? So we talked about the fact that if you say that the argument is effective, that is indeed forming a claim. But these final three sentences, there's a clunkiness about them that I want you to do a little bit of work on. So let me read this to you out loud. His essay was very moving. Excuse me. His essay was very moving, and he made it very clear as to how he felt. I believe the author's claim to appreciate the privilege of education and effectively proves why based off of his own experience. So this second sentence here is the one that's particularly clunky. So read this out loud because it's not quite there yet. But I really like what you're doing with this sentence. So I wonder if you could find a way to rephrase all this. So when I was kind of looking at it, uh, I thought something to the effect of, um, through the use of his own experience, Baraksma effectively argues readers should appreciate the privilege of education, um, and moves them towards whatever. Um, I think yeah. So I think shifting these ideas around a little bit will help you get there. It's really this second sentence here that is the most clunky, and that is really because I don't know. There's something awkwardness. There's some kind of awkwardness in your syntax that it's not quite there yet. But this is the word that's going to get you. This phrase right here effectively proves is gonna get you there. I think you just need to shift these ideas around a little bit. So just play around with them. Um, Make sure that when you refer to the author, you refer to him by his last name. After you introduce his full name in the summary, you slip into calling him Alexander here. Continue to call him Baraxma. I don't know why. I don't think you need this colon here. It doesn't quite work for the purpose of the colon, so I would just end this with a period here. I really like what you're doing with this piece of evidence here, where you're paying attention to the word choice, right? Where you pinpoint cop out, and then down here you pinpoint him saying torture. That's great. That's exactly what you're supposed to be doing with critical analysis. So that has a really nice movement here. You do the same thing in this second paragraph where you set up a good claim, you bring in some evidence, and then you begin to unpack it. Make sure with this piece of evidence that you're citing it, because you don't have the author's name in the signal phrase like you did here in the previous. So make sure that you create an in-text citation here. Um, and I think you're missing a point to talk about here, and really what Baraxma is talking about. You say in college you wouldn't have to worry about your education unfairly slipping away from your hands. Yeah, there's that. But he's also saying with a degree, um, it's less likely, number one, that you're going to have a job that will suddenly disappear from your hands. Um, but he's also arguing that he's also arguing that should that happen to you, you would be in a better position to control what you did next, right? So let's say that your job does disappear, your company does have to downsize. What he's essentially trying to say is that the chances of you finding a job with same or better pay, should that happen to you, is going to be more likely if you have a college degree. So you might consider digging into the idea of what job security really means. Um, yeah, and so I like your conclusion here. There are a couple of sentence level edits that I want to talk to you about. But I'll tell you, I was really expecting at least three key ideas to unpack what's going on in this essay. And you really only have these two body paragraphs. So something that I would really appreciate as your reader, I would really like another key point. I would really like another moment um, to help you unpack why the personal examples are so moving. So you when you bring this idea, when I'm back at the university, skipping classes seems like a cop out. I feel like that piece of evidence is like, I can't remember exactly where it is in the essay, but I feel like it's like on page 2. So it's like I almost want a key point that comes in the essay earlier. So you might think about discussing why Baraksma chooses to work in a factory. So he has to have a summer job. That's I think that's not an option for him. But remember when he goes through the list of what his friends do, right? Like one works at the Gap, I think, one works at a coffee shop, and he makes the point to say that these are the easier jobs that he could take, but he's making a conscious decision to work in a factory, to take a really difficult summer job. And so I think that would be a good example to try to unpack in your essay. Um, and it would make it feel like you're really talking about the entire essay, instead of like kind of starting in the middle, right? So it kind of feels like there's two things here going on. Number one, I would like another key point, like I said, in your essay. And number two, when I got to your first piece of evidence, while the paragraph itself read pretty well, I was like, oh wow, she's starting in the middle, like, and I kind of went, well, why doesn't she start a little sooner? Um, in terms of where you're focusing on for Baraksma. So really, I think if you included a new paragraph, it might be before this key idea. But again, we could also talk about the counter argument, or you could talk about the counter argument as well. Um, you bring it up really briefly right here. Going to college isn't an opportunity anyone can have, and I think that an idea worth exploring in more depth. Um, but I would like another key idea, so I'll let you decide where you want to take it. I said there's a couple sentence level edits that I want to talk to you about. First off, avoid using contractions; they're far too informal for professional writing. So just write that out. So instead of saying isn't available, you say is not. Him can never be the subject of a sentence; it is always the object. So all these places where you say, despite him lacking factual evidence, him using, him showing, you need to rewrite all that. So use the author's name or the appropriate pronoun that can be used as a subject, which would be he. Or you could use his, so his argument, his personal examples, right? But the word him will always be the object. You can't ever have it in the place of a subject. And that's what you're doing in these sentences. So those need to be rewritten. Let's talk a little bit about your works cited page. You've got the title. Make sure that you center this and then remove the colon. Make sure that you look in the textbook for how to cite a magazine article. It will show you how to create a correct bibliographic entry. So you have all the correct information. You have the author, you have the title of the article, you have the title of the you have the title of the magazine, and you have the date. What you don't have is them in correct order, nor do you have the correct punctuation, nor do you have the correct font type. But if you look in the chapter that I assigned this week, you will see a style guide in your textbook. And what you need to do is look for citing magazine articles, and it will give you an example of how you do that, and you can see exactly how you have to put this information together. If you have questions about that, you can certainly email me and let you know, or and let me know. Okay, so I want to tell you, as a whole, I think it's working pretty well. I'm pretty happy with the way that you've brought in evidence, the way that you're setting it up, and the way that you're responding to it. I do think that you have a claim now. It does need some work. Like I said, that sentence, there's something clunky going on there with your syntax, so you just need to do a little bit of revision. I would like to see another body paragraph, and then doing those sentence level edits in your works cited page, and you should get there. So you should be pretty happy with this essay. I can tell you I am. Okay, let me know if you have any feedback. Thanks.